NAT server establishes a mapping between a private IP address plus port number pair and a public IP address plus port number pair on a NAT device. It then translates the destination IP address and port number in a packet sent from a public network into a private IP address and port number. In this way, a host on the internet can access a server on a private network. This video provides an example showing how to configure NAT server. The router shown in the figure connects to the intranet through interface 1 and connects to the internet through interface 2. The enterprise's internal network address is 192.168.0.0/16, and the internal server address is 192.168.10.10/32. Only PCs on the 192.168.10.0/24 network segment can access the Internet. 5 public IP addresses 1.1.1.101/32 through 1.1.1.105/32 are assigned to the enterprise. The internal server also has an independent public IP address 1.1.1.100. Through 1-to-1 NAT, the server can be accessed from the external PC. The configuration process is as follows. First, configure basic NAT functions. Second, configure a NAT traffic diversion policy on the inbound or outbound interface. Third, configure NAT server. Step 1. Configure basic NAT functions. NAT server supports both dedicated and onboard scenarios. In the onboard scenario, you do not need to enable the dedicated board mode or configure session and bandwidth resources for NAT server. This example uses the onboard scenario. First, enable the onboard mode. You do not need to manually enable the onboard mode for devices on which it is enabled by default. Then, create a NAT instance named NAT1 and bind it to a service board. Finally, configure a NAT address pool and set the addresses that can be allocated to 11.11.11.101 to 11.11.11.105. Step 2. Configure a NAT traffic diversion policy. On a given device, a NAT traffic diversion policy can be configured on an outbound or an inbound interface, but not on both at the same time. This video uses a NAT traffic diversion policy on an inbound interface as an example. First, configure an ACL rule to allow only hosts on the internal network segment 192.168.10.0/24 to access the Internet. Then, configure a traffic classifier and define an ACL-based matching rule. Next, configure a traffic behavior bound to the NAT instance and a traffic policy that associates the ACL rule with the traffic behavior. Finally, apply the NAT traffic diversion policy to the inbound interface 1. For details about how to configure a traffic diversion policy on an outbound interface, see the following configuration roadmap. Step 3. Set the internal address to 192.168.10.10 and external address to 1.1.1.100 for the internal server. After the preceding configurations are complete, run the command to check server mapping entries and check the server and server reverse fields in the command output. If the public IP address is 1.1.1.100 and the private IP address is 192.168.10.10, the configuration is successful. That's all for this video about how to configure NAT server on a NetEngine series router. Thank you for watching.